Hola amigos, bien o no, y saludos desde Inglaterra. Hoy voy a compartir un poquito de este libro, pero especialmente para pensar cómo nosotros están, cómo otras personas percibiendo nosotros, cómo esta percepción de nosotros puede afectar nuestro sentir, confianza y también una pregunta abierta en el sentido de cuando nosotros practicar, especialmente para leer en voz alta, entender bien nuestro sonido, nuestra voz en la nueva lengua. La pregunta es si esto puede cambiar y mejorar nuestra forma de sentir confianza en total. Entonces es el tema de hoy. So, hello again from England. Happily not such a cold day today. But I'm going to share with you a bit of a reading from this book by Jonathan Glover way back in 1988. Now here he's talking about how we perceive ourselves, personal identity. He's looking at that from the point of view particularly of psychology. Now I'm going to read a little bit here about faces and how our facial expressions are very important and how we use our understanding of facial expressions, the way we read other people's faces, is a very important part of our communication. And obviously when our language skills are not as good as we perhaps would like at the beginning, we're trying to get a lot of information from that when we're in the conversations with other people, because we perhaps don't understand all the words and we're thinking very hard about what's going on, what it's all about. But the secondary question to think about with this is, here he's talking about how people perceive us, how people perceive our faces and the expressions we give and how that changes their view of us. But my question also is, think about your voice as well, because if you can improve your sense of confidence in how you sound by practicing maybe reading aloud, recording how you sound so you know what your voice sounds like, and getting that to a point where you're fairly happy with how you sound, particularly in the new language. My question generally is, does that make you feel more confident? Once you're happier with how you sound, does that affect, do you think, the way other people will perceive you? So it's not about whether you're making mistakes in the new language, but if you feel confident in the voice you have, the voice you're using to speak it, do you think that sense of confidence will then be reflected in the way other people respond to you, rather like how they might respond to your facial expressions? That's something to think about. But anyway, let me read you this little bit from the book. So rather like we did in the last couple of readings we did the last few days, this is another one of these academic texts, so you might notice a slightly formal language, but see how much you understand, see what you think. So here he's talking on page 70 about the face. Faces are not just recognized, we also interpret them. We can often tell what people are looking at or even thinking about and what their reaction or emotional state is. We think we can learn more from a face than just about a person's present state. We make generalizations about character. Someone's face shows that they are proud. Their eyes show that they are kind or cold, or they look serious or compassionate. Sometimes a face may seem to reflect the experiences of years and the emotions and understanding that have been shaped by them. think of Rembrandt's self-portraits. What we see in Rembrandt's face is surely not all illusory. These paintings are, of course, a special case. We are looking at an extremely perceptive man, honestly portrayed by a brilliant painter who knows him from the inside. And when partly taught by Rembrandt, we see other faces in a similar way, we learn things about those people too. But these judgments of character may not always be reliable. Partly, we may be projecting onto faces things about people known independently. There we are. Interesting thought, yeah? That was a final warning against perhaps making too prejudiced or too rapid a judgment. But think about it. It's an interesting idea, yeah? A lot of our language, a lot of the way we communicate with people isn't just what we say. A lot of it is to do with how we express it. And some of that is our voice. A lot of it is our facial expression, our body language. So probably, if you're faced with a language exchange where you feel you don't have very much vocabulary to communicate what you want, you're going to find yourself relying much more heavily on facial expressions, gestures, miming even, to try and communicate your message. And that might be an experience common to many of us. I know certainly at the beginning when I was learning Spanish, that was a lot of my experience. But déjame saber en los comentarios. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you think this is an important thing? Like your tone of voice, the way you express it. Do you think it's worth thinking of this when we talk about language, thinking about it in a more, let's say, holistic way, a more continual way of not just the words, but also how you communicate it? I'll leave you with that thought. So for now, we'll say cheerio.